Welcome to Daily Conversation. This is Mr. K.
This is Eric.
Yeah, today is the 12th of September 2021 and the time now is 6:17 a.m. Well, today our topic is, in your opinion, how much is a person's trustworthiness worth? Right, so before we get started, please click the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, so here we go. Yeah, so to start this conversation, I think in Chinese we have one proverb which is 一诺千金, which means a promise is worth 1,000 ounces of gold. Yeah, so in that case, yeah, I think in that case, that is a promise. That is a promise, and once a promise has been made, and uh, it is similar to something uh, which I learned in my college, which is a psychological contract. Yeah, it's a contract, but it is not a legal contract. It is psychological. Yep, and then yeah, in a real life, I think many things can be psychological contracts, and even though sometimes when we didn't make any promise, and but people expect us to do something. Yeah, yeah. So for here also interesting, which is when uh, the person that you deal with, uh, they are more important, which means the more important a person is, and I found that uh, the more value it is. Yeah, to break the promise, it actually has some cost. Yeah, which is maybe you will lose your image, you will lose your credit, and then yeah, I believe everybody in their mind they will have some friends which is they think this guy is not uh, trustworthy. Yeah, for me, I have a friend which is uh, I uh, I have known this guy from uh, uh, in the primary school, so which means more than more than 15 years. Yeah, and then since that time, we all know that this guy isn't trustworthy. Yeah, and then actually, this is not something good because we will have a bad image for him, and then uh, also will have something like a uh, bad impression to him, so that it actually affects not only something like you want to cooperate with him, you want to maybe do business with him. Not only this, but also it hurt the whole image of a person. So I think for this kind of psychological contract, the advice is firstly we don't simply make promise, because making a promise will make you bet your credit and trustworthiness. Yeah, you bet this, so it means that you face higher risk to break this. Yeah, so don't make promises so easily. And then second is sometimes, like I said, even when we didn't make any promises, sometimes people expect us to do something, and in that case, um, yeah, it depends. Because I say, the more important the person is, the higher the cost it is. So yeah, it is case by case. So we don't have to we don't have to meet every people's expectation. Yeah, this is one. But if that person is important to you, yeah, you had to think think twice because the cost, the risk of failing to meet the promise. Yep, and then so in my sharing, this is one part, which is psychological contract, and then the other part is the physical contract, which is means the legal contract. Yeah, when a legal contract is existing, is exist, and then of course, it is not wise to for you to break it. Yeah, if you fail to keep a promise, if you fail to keep it, and then it not only will hurt your credit score, which will have a record of your this uh, bad credit, and also it reveals your inability. Yeah, for example, if you fail to pay your credit card payment, yeah, and then I believe that this will be something uh, stay in your record and hurt your credit score. Yep, and then um, so for these kind of things, basically when we have a physical contract, we have a legal contract. Basically those things are quite important, and also uh, um, it's and also will have a record there. So it's of course uh, not good to break it, and is more important than uh, the psychological contract. Yeah, because a legal contract, if you fail a legal contract, your cost will be higher. Um, this is something clear that you need to meet compared to the psychological contract, which sometimes the line, I mean the border is quite blur, and has got a lot of gray area. But for legal contracts, basically um, they have clearer lines and borders. Yep. So yeah. So these are some of my sharings today.
Yeah, one thing about the credit cards payment,
Mm.
I think this is not a good analogy because the credit limit is is not is not related. It's not related to your credit score actually.
Oh, I see.
You
Uh,
know
so
why?
so it
Because
means that they charge us interest, and but they didn't hurt our credit score. Is it like this?
yeah,
Oh,
and actually the bank like you uh to
delay the payment.
uh yeah to pay the interest because they can earn money.
Mm.
And there's some studies which is uh when you can't make the payments, they're not going to reduce your credit limit. They actually try to increase the limit. Mm.
Oh,
So that you can spend more. Yeah, and when you can spend more and you will borrow more,
yeah.
you'll borrow more money, and then you you'll need to pay higher interest. Mm. And then until a threshold, the bank uh when your interest is too much for you,
Mm.
they'll start to consider uh whether to pay more, ask you to pay more money, or
Mm.
maybe at that time that uh I think they still won't try to reduce your credit limit. Mm.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'll charge you a higher interest rate. Mm. And when you go to the banks and you ask for the re, re, reconstructions of the debt, And then the bank will start to help you do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, this is not a good analogy.
Right.
And another thing is you mentioned about don't make promise, and actually there's did you realize that if you making promise, making promise may seems not trustworthy. So let's say if you keep making promise
Mm.
or not keep making promise, or maybe this is the first time you meet the person and you make a promise,
Yeah.
and does it really means you can be trusted? If
Do you mean that you make a promise and also you keep that promise?
no, I mean you make the promise, and
Yeah.
because they can't know the result.
Mm.
You're just making the promise,
Yeah.
and at a, at that current moment, are you uh, what the, what the perspective, what the sorry means what the perceptions that other people give you, whether you are trustworthy or not,
I think the,
especially when the promise is too big to make.
oh, too big to make. Yeah, I think yeah, it doesn't necessarily increase people's uh um I mean the trust on that person uh is still an unclear thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, and yeah, especially when the things like you said, the promise is too big to make. Is it's not good to me. It's not uh making a promise doesn't give more points to the maker.
Hmm. And then if they another round, the opposite way, if you don't make promise all the time,
Mm.
can you be trusted?
All the time means that every time I think if you deal with the same group of people, yeah, one thing you need to do is to do it, to prove it through your actions all the time, whether you did that. You don't have to promise that people will look at your something like your action in the past, whether you did it more or you failed to do it more.
What does you mean?
Yeah, if those people are the people that you deal with more than one time, then people will have a judgment in their mind, right? Which in the past, whether you are the type of persons who will do what you say, or you will do what we expect you to do.
Mm. And
Yes. So I think in that case, action is more important instead of a promise. But one thing is that if your promise is not too often, I mean, you didn't make promise too often. A promise can be a weapon, something like people will feel like, whoa, you are serious this time, something like that. And then, but I think the cost of this is a little bit too high. You bet your credit and trustworthiness.
okay, there's three things. The first thing is, what if you you making less promise but you still break the promise? This is the first thing. And
Mm,
second things is how much. Then if your explanations make sense, how much a person trustworthiness worth? Because you say you don't need to you don't really need to make a promise, or maybe you make the promise. So whether you make a promise or not, it doesn't matter. what matter is your actions, whether your actions really can prove them. Then so when every time need to comes to the end, when they can see your actions, when they can see the result, how much how much is a person trustworthiness worth? And this is the second thing. And the third thing is, what if this is just one shot game?
Yeah, one shot game. Yeah, one shot game. I think sometimes if you the promise here, I think is sometimes a good thing. Is sometimes a weapon to you. For example, maybe yeah, even for not one time, for some advertisement, they do promise, right? They do give some promise. Sometimes it's not that obvious. Sometimes it's implicit. But promise still work in advertisement if you can keep that.
What does you mean?
In advertisement, sometimes they promise something, right? They promise their 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 services or their products can work as they're mentioned or something like that.
Then
Yeah. So in that case, promise is it's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's needed. Yeah, in terms of persuading people. I think for advertisement, that is something that needed.
sorry, I still don't get you, because my last question is, if it's just a one shot game, then how trustworthiness can affect it? And because this is just one shot games, you say advertisements, they make a promise, but does making promise make you more trustworthy? This is something that we discussed just now. So what you say is, it doesn't matter. You need to prove that. You need to show your action. And also, if you talk about advertisements, so advertisement is just a display, but it doesn't mean that customer saw your advertisement, they'll go to your shop and buy the things. So and then the ability to persuade them comes to your shop and give a try is the purpose of advertisements, right?
Yeah.
So that's why they do the advertisements. But they make the advertisements, so means that they are trustworthy? No, everything still haven't happened based on your explanation, because you say you need to do the actions. Action is needed. Yeah. So there's a lot of conflicts in your talking.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I think I go back to the your question first, which is if that case, which is we call it one off thing, giving promise versus not giving promise, right? Yeah, I think in that case, because we couldn't prove it through our actions. That is one of, even if we can, maybe not many chances to do that. So if the promise is really needed in order uh, to uh, to achieve your intention, then yeah, then can be considered. So will it make that person, will it make the maker more trustworthy? I think yes, in some degree.
Mm. So you're making promise. Uh, when you make promise, so people view you a trustworthy person.
Not necessary, but people think you are more serious, and also you have more. Uh, but it is one time. Um, yeah, it is one time. So means that even if you break it, you won't deal with that person anymore. Yeah, but I think sometimes trustworthiness of one person is uh, can affect him for uh, more than one time. I mean, the 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 effect of that of your bad promise can be brought to the next event, or the, the next time. Yeah, because I think that is something like an image. If you break your image, then yeah, I think it is hard to say it is just for that one off action.
Mm. Do you really believe what you're talking?
Um, yeah. Okay, I think yeah, can we kind of uh to rephrase it, and then to rephrase, to compile what we have said.
Okay, can.
Yeah.
Okay, what you have say is, you say, okay, start from me, and I say, making promise or not, does it increase the trustworthiness, or the
Mm,
trustworthiness is linked to the actions, it's not linked to what you say, what you promise. This is my questions.
mm,
And you say it's linked to the question, and you say it's linked to the actions. Yeah, at the first time you say this is linked to the action, because uh you can make promise but you break it, or you didn't make promise and but you do it very well, so increase the trustworthiness. Yeah. And so I ask you,
mm.
uh so does uh making less promises, or making no promises, can also lead to can also increase the trustworthiness? And you and and you say, yeah, it is the action, and you say sometimes making lesser promise can become a weapon. Yeah,
Mm,
because
yeah.
when you make less promise, so people know you seldom make promise. So when you make promise, so they think you are serious. Yeah,
Mm,
you are serious this time. So they'll trust you like this. And so it leads to three questions. So the first is, if you make lesser promise but you still break it.
yeah.
Yeah. And the second question is, how much is a person trustworthiness worth? Yeah, in this case. And the
Mm,
third is, and okay, and the second question is, because it linked to the action. So every time you make a promise, it didn't increase your trustworthiness. Okay, if this is the case, and you need to wait until the actions. Yeah, until uh you make a result, you make a remarkable results, and then
mm,
so people can believe you. But when they start to believe you, it's getting too late. Mm.
yeah.
So how much? So in this case, how much is a person trustworthiness worth? And the third question is, what if this is one shot game?
Mm.
Yeah, and you say like the advertisements, and they display the advertisements so that they can attract customer go to their shop to buy the service and product. And yeah, but the advertisements seems sometimes and actually most of the time they exaggerate the service, the product, the features, the benefits of their service, of their product, the advantage of the company, and they over promise, and then they under delivering. This is most of the company did.
Yeah.
Mm. And so, but in this case, yeah, so it actually linked to the second questions, the question that I asked you. So how much is the person trustworthiness worth?
Um.
How about we
Mm.
start from an easy questions? The
Okay.
first question: when you make lesser promise and then you still break it,
Mm.
yeah, what if in this case?
Um. Okay. So in this case also you want to ask the question like how much is this person's trustworthiness worth
No, no, no.
or not
Uh,
related?
the uh the first question is, if a person seldom make promise, but
Mm.
when they make promise they still break it, do
Yeah.
you think this person is trustworthiness? Do you think this person is trustworthy?
Um.
Because
Because
just
they break it, right? They break it. But because they seldom make promise, so maybe it won't have a big impact on his trustworthiness.
so when you make a lot of promise and then you just break one or two,
Oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah, but most of the time you commit it, so it's still not affecting, but sometimes but uh, on the opposite, it actually gives points to your trustworthiness.
then how then uh uh in which circumstances can hurt your trustworthiness?
Um, yeah, for yeah, if you just compare let's say the quantity, yeah, if you break it more than you meet it, then I think at that time uh, most likely it is a negative impact to your trustworthiness.
So you're looking about the ratio, you're looking about the percentage, or you're looking the number, the frequency of you break the promise.
Um, yeah, I think it's ratio more.
Then if ratio more, why you say if a person seldom make promise and then when they make promise they still break it, the ratio must be very very high. The failure of I mean the under
Mm.
delivering of the promise,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
The-
Conflict again here.
yeah, and there's a lot of conflicts.
Mm.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, and just now you also say that promise can can act as your as as your weapons, so that when you make less promise, so when you make promise, people will trust you. People are more willing to trust you. So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If you look at the ratio, even you make one or two, you can fail it. You can fail to do that.
Yeah. Okay. I make another case.
Mm.
In which circumstances will hurt your trustworthiness more? A person make a lot of promise. A,
Yeah.
we call it A. A make a lot of promise and then they just break one or two. Yeah. Let's say they make 100 promise and then 90x they fulfill the promise and then they break only two. And then B only make two promise and they break them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. In which circumstances will hurt the trustworthiness more?
I think it's the second.
But what if the thing they break the promise is the same? So let's say this is the same task. For example, A make a lot of promise. The 98 is, let's say for example, I agree to pay your salary at the end of this month, or maybe before 7 of next month. Yeah. So it's the promise is very, very easy to fulfill. Let's say, for example, the employer say something like this to you, or maybe they promise you that they will give you the salary before end of next month. Yeah. So they make a lot of this kind of promise, and yeah, of course they fulfill 98. Yeah, but when you need money and then you ask the employer, yeah, I need money tomorrow. Can you advance me the salary? And then they say yes, but they can't fulfill that. Yeah, I mean, they break it. Yeah, they break the promise.
Yeah.
And this is A, and B won't make any promise. Yeah, and then the result is exactly the same. Yeah, for example, A and B will pay you salary on the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just uh just A make promise, B don't make promise, but the result is exactly the same. Yeah. When you and then when you ask B, yeah, I want to advance the salary tomorrow, and then B say, yeah, I will make it. But tomorrow they still didn't bank in your salary to your account. B also break it. Yeah. So the second time is also same things. Yeah. So the result is exactly the same, just about the ratio.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which one is more trustworthy?
Yeah. Because these two times, both cases, the A and the B, did the same. But how about for A? Because you say, let's say if we have 100 times 100 promises, he can fulfill 98, and just the last two, he failed to do that. And how about the 98? Did the employee related to to those 98 promises?
If you are the employee, will you relate the 98 promises to the trustworthiness?
But yeah, but that is something that did in the past, right? Did in the past, and then if you had if you have a good records, maybe the failure of of keeping promise for a few times can be something like contra. People will maybe considerate, maybe they think maybe this is just one or two times, or maybe is because of your uh, uh, inability. Not to say that not don't have money to pay, maybe don't have time to do so. Uh, instead of thinking that is you are unwilling to do. Yeah, but
Yeah.
for B, because you don't have past records,
No, I
to
mean the result
refer
is
to.
exactly is exactly the same, just with the promise or without the promise.
Hmm. Yeah, seems like actually, uh, no big difference because for
Yeah.
B, he didn't make promises, but he also did it through their action, right? You, in the past, let's say there are 100 times. In the past 98, you still get your salary, on time, but this time you ask him to do that, and this make him make a promise, but he failed to do that. Um, yeah, I think it's no big difference.
Yeah. Actually, it should be indifference, but in our minds, we will think A will be more trustworthy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, there's something inside, and later I will uh mention the thing. But before that, I would like to ask you another question, which is can uh uh can can promise is promise good or bad, or it can be either way. For example, I promise you I will update tomorrow English conversation topic
Mm.
by next month. Uh,
Okay. By next month,
yeah.
what do you mean?
So okay, let's say tomorrow English conversation topic
Mm.
is my turn. Uh, I need to I need to like update the topic. Otherwise, we won't have the topic to make
Mm.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So and then I promise you I will update tomorrow's topic by next month.
Um. So it means that you promise you couldn't make it.
Ah, yeah. So this occurred in many ways, right? Because for example,
Mm.
when the customer asks you when can you
Ah.
pass your card to me, and you say
Yeah.
2 weeks later, yeah, 2 weeks later,
Mm.
but actually they expect you give them 1 day later, but you
Yeah.
promise them, yeah, but you promise them 2 weeks later. So it's exactly
Mm.
the same as uh the analogy uh uh
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
made just now, right?
Yes. Right. Yes. Mm. Yeah, but it's better than none, right? Let's say if the case like customers asking you to to complete to finish the repair work for his car by tomorrow, but you couldn't make it, but you didn't promise anything. Uh, yeah, this I think if you can give a date, it's better than none for
Mm,
that case.
yeah. So there's also something inside. There's also some implication inside
Mm.
why customer need a date. Yeah, and also for example, uh, yeah, just one thing. To me, if you seldom make promise, but if you still break the promise,
Yeah.
and then I would think this person is less trustworthy. For
Mm.
example, last time, and I remember there's one time this is in a biweekly review, and they
Mm.
asked me whether whether you update, because you always update your topics quite late.
Yeah. Like
Just
yesterday.
yeah, and a lot of time,
Mm.
after in the evening, I still couldn't see your topic
Yeah.
on the list. Yeah, on the next day topic in the list. And then I remember you make a promise that I will try to make I will try to update the topic 2 days before. So that means uh, if let's say, for example, today's topic, you should update on Friday.
Yeah.
Sorry, you should update on Friday. But actually after that after that conversation, after you make a promise, I keep reviewing. I mean,
Observing.
I keep observing, and then I keep my eyes on that,
Yeah.
and you keep breaking a promise.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you ask me, when a person make lesser promise, and then but they still break it, and
Mm.
then it seems like they forget the promise. Yeah, this is a major part. If they seems like they forget their promise, and then uh uh the credit score, the trustworthy score, will turns to zero very very fast. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the first thing. Yeah.
Mm.
If you make less promise but you still break the promise, and also you s- uh you seems like forget the promise already. Yeah. So uh it will damage your trustworthiness. It will
Mm.
damage your trustworthiness. It will damage your image very very uh uh quick. In
Yeah.
a quick, in a short period. Yeah, and this is thing. Okay. And then if a person make a lot of promise, and then they still they break it 1 or 2 times. Actually, for me, for me, I will look at what he promised in the past. I'm actually comparing my expectation with their promise. I'm not comparing their result with their promise. I'm not comparing like this. I'm not comparing like this. I'm
Mm.
comparing my expectation versus their promise. For example, I tell them my expectation. I need a car 5 days later,
Mm.
and you say, yeah, I can give you 4 days later. Yeah, so the day before you need a car,
Yeah.
and then you break the promise. Mm. So so this is first time.
Mm.
Yeah. So for example, if I didn't tell you, when I need a car, and then I say I need a car. Yeah, I say I need a car. Mm.
Yeah.
In these few days, and you say, yeah, you try to pass me the car 3 days later,
Mm.
and I tell you, and I tell you the time. For example, I say, yeah, I don't know when I need a car. Yeah, I don't know when I need a car. Maybe 4 days later, or maybe five
Mm.
days later.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe 2 weeks later. Okay, and you say, yeah, I will give you, I I'll pass the car to you 3 days later. But actually, end up I need the car 4 days later, and then also you didn't give me the car 3 days later. Mm. And then uh, it will damage the trustworthiness. Yeah, it will damage the image. You heard the image. And if I need the car 2 weeks later, and then you pass me 1 week
Mm.
later, and would it really hurt your your trustworthiness? Lesser, I would say lesser. I
Mm.
couldn't say nothing, but I would say lesser, because you didn't cause my inconvenience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there must be something. Yeah, I'm not sure this is only apply on me or apply on other on other people, but I think it
Yeah.
actually did apply many
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
Mm,
More or less.
yeah.
Mm.
And when the thing didn't cause you inconvenience, you don't care it. Yeah. When the things make you inconvenience, you start to blame them. Mm.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is the first thing. Uh, so it means that trustworthiness is not that simple. It's not it's not an easy formula. It's not an
Mm-mm.
easy idea that just you say something and then you make it, so you are trustworthy. Yeah. If you don't make it, you are not trustworthy. Yeah. It's not that
Mm.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is the first thing, and then the second thing is how much is a person trustworthiness worth? Okay, if it is linked to the action,
Mm.
then every time you need to prove the action. So that means the trustworthiness would uh would around zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every time you need to prove your action, and then you say, yeah, you can see the past records, and yeah, if I ask you, you go to a car workshop, how can you see the how can you see the past records? For example, if now I want to repair my car, I want to maintain my car, and then I choose whether I want to go to your car workshop,
Mm.
but I don't know your score. I couldn't access the records, right?
Yeah.
And then how many people uh are debt free? Yeah, sorry. How many people are debt free that keep observing your records? You get
Mm.
what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm. So for example, uh, you are a teacher, and then sorry, let's say you are an accountant, and then you keep the you keep uh you couldn't fulfill, you couldn't get your account done before deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times. Mm. But now you are looking a new customer. Can the customer see your result? Can your customer see your record?
Mostly not.
Yeah, yeah. Unless you are too famous to let them know. Yeah, you are not
Yeah.
trustworthy. But it's not the case, right?
Mm-mm.
In reality, it's not the case. Mm, yeah, because people only care what important to us. Yeah, and if you and yeah, maybe some case we care more, and then we'll remind some bad reputation reputed company. Yeah, but it's just few of them.
Mm.
And for example, can you name some really big and famous company and which is have a bad reputation?
Um.
Very hard, right?
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Yeah, and even though and also especially this is this is when something that you are not familiar.
Mm.
For example, now I'm looking for a car workshop. How can I know whether this company, whether this workshop is trustworthy or not? Yeah. So if every time you need to prove the action and it's too tired, and then it indicates that trustworthiness actually worth very little value. Yeah.
Mm.
So even though this is a repeated games, yeah, you are the company, uh, you you are doing business, you are not doing once, you are not making one transaction. Yeah. So even though you're making, even though you open the company, you are doing business, and how can people trust you? This is another topic. Yeah, and because they couldn't access your records, and also okay, if you are making a new friend, how can the new friends know whether you are a trustworthy person? Or you're making a new friend, how can you know that friend whether he or she is trustworthy or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you couldn't see the records. Yeah, only when other people tell you, then you can know.
Yep.
So it links to the point that how can you let people know you are trustworthy? Yeah, of course, you won't let people know you are not trustworthy. So the question is, how can you let people know you are trustworthy? Yeah. So if you can let people know you are trustworthy, and then also they believe, so that means the trustworthiness have value.
Yeah.
So in another case, maybe you did maybe you have a good record, but they couldn't access it, they couldn't see it. Yeah. And no matter uh how much trustworthiness you have, they don't believe it. So to them it's zero.
Yes. Yeah.
So the key question is, how can you let people know whether you are trustworthy or not? Yeah. So this is a question.
Okay, for to me, I think for general cases, promises plus your past result is a way to prove your trustworthiness. For the cases just now, which the person couldn't access to your past records, yeah, maybe something like a contract, if needed, is a legal contract, something like that, will help.
Try to imagine a car workshop need to sign a contract with his customer, yeah, with his customer every time, and then need to promise the customer they will deliver the car before before a certain date, before a certain time.
Yeah.
Is this a good thing to do?
Not for the it's not a good thing for the company because
Yeah.
they put them into in unfavorable situations.
Yeah. So the company won't do that. Yeah. Will your father did that? Will your father do that? Probably
Oh,
not.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not a good method. Yeah,
How
and
about
then
letting them know your past records?
yeah, this could be one of the method, because we got a lot, for example, like the testimonials. Yeah, and we can like ask our customer take a photo. Yeah, and for example, some car some car selling agents when they make a deal, and then they'll take they'll take a photo. They'll take the car they sold, and then they'll take uh
With the
their customer.
buyer. Yeah.
Yeah, with the buyer. So and then they post to the Facebook, and then you can see, oh yeah, this sales agent and make a lot of transactions. Yeah, so at least they have a lot of records.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is also one of the methods. and it actually can indicate something what we which is some unsolvable so I mean which is some question that we still haven't solved. And the question is, yeah, if you make lesser promise, is it really good for you? Yeah, just now we discussed whether you make more promise and then you break one or two, or you make lesser promise. You fulfill all, or either you break all of them. Which one is better? So it means that whether you make more promise is good, or whether you make less promise is good. Yeah, and um, okay. The first thing we need to know that we need something. We need something which is your past result, past records
Yeah.
to judge whether you are trustworthy or not. So uh, whether you make a lot of promise, or whether you make very little promise to a person they are not familiar you, or even to a person that familiar you but forget uh uh uh, but they forget you, you make a lot of promise with him or her, and they forget you actually deliver your promise. You actually uh didn't break your promise. They forget it. Because people can forget the good things, but people will remember the bad thing. So that the record is important. Yeah. And then if there's zero records, and people won't trust you. So that means if you have very, very little record, people won't trust you. Mm. And also if you seldom make promise, uh, it's not sure. It's not sure. But if you seldom make promise, that means also uh, maybe you have lesser records, and then people won't trust you. But if you seldom make promise, but if you have a lot of records, and people will trust you. So it is something like you need to prove them. Yeah. So the promise is, yeah, it's just like you say, it's something that you can have, or you uh and if you don't have it, if you don't make a promise, it didn't affect the result that much. Yeah, what matter is actually the record. And also, for example, the bank want to lend you the money. You borrow money from banks to finance the housing loans, yeah, to finance your house, and then you want to buy a car. The bank will go to the bank Negara website portal, and then they will download your your crisis report, which is your credit score record. And then if your credit score record is just a blank, you didn't make any transaction, you didn't like you don't have any records, and then to they'll ask you to find the guarantor, or they'll ask you to find the co-borrower.
Yeah.
So if your record is really, really bad, okay, you didn't pay your debt, and then they won't borrow you. And if your record is good, and then they'll lend you the money.
Yeah.
So the worst thing is you have records, and then you have bad records. So this is the worst thing. And then the second thing, the second thing, which is you have blank records. But the bank also require you to do something. They won't trust you. Only when you have record, and then you make it, and it's a good record, and then they'll trust you. So you can see this is an imbalanced game to a person.
The second and the third seems the same result, right? Seems get the same result.
Why the second and the third?
Yeah, because you have no record. You need a guarantor, and then if you have a bad if you have a bad records, you still need a guarantor, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right. If you have a guarantor, if you have a co-borrower, and then the bank may lend you the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is this thing. So how can you let people know whether you are trustworthy or not? So it's a record. But does it mean that records means you are trustworthy? For example, the car selling agent, it just means that they can sell a lot of car, or they can fake it. They can take a fake photo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can fake the records. Yeah, so there's a lot of gray area here, and yeah, and when in the market, when everyone doing that, it become nothing. Yeah, and it becomes something like the uh, essential things. So you, for example, if you are in the competitive market, there, there are a lot of there are a lot of car selling agents. Yeah, there are a lot of car seller, and then you want to see their records, and if they don't have record, you just won't choose them because you have a lot of options to choose. You have a lot of alternative. Yeah, but if there are only one, and you have to choose them, otherwise you couldn't buy the car.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah. So it's also not that easy. And then even though you have a past record, it doesn't mean that the customer will trust you, because every of your competitors, they also have past records.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And but how can you signal them? How can you signal them you are worth to trust? You are worth to you are worth to try. It actually it actually can link to our previous topic, which is one of the theory I introduced to you from a book, Alchemist. And this is the concept is costly signaling theory. Yeah, even though you are just opening a new shop, for example, it's a new supermarket, or maybe it's a new car workshop, or maybe it's a new restaurant, and you try to make the renovation really high class, and then spend a lot of money, and then when people see it, and they'll think, wow, you are serious, you are doing serious, you invest so much money inside already, so they'll trust you more. Yeah, and you can think one of the example, for example, um if you want to repair your car, will you go for an individual, don't have a company, they don't register a company, they just this is just a it's just a mechanics, and the technicians, the car repair, they know how to repair the car.
Yeah.
Maybe it's labor. Yeah. Maybe it is a worker, is a labor in a company, but he tried to get some side income. Whether you choose them or whether you choose a company, whether you choose a workshop, car workshop, they have a property, they have their address, they have their registered address, and you can see a lot of car inside, you can see a lot of worker inside, you can
Yeah.
see they really rent a place. Yeah, it is not just they set their office at their home. Yeah. And you rather choose the uh the company instead of choosing the individual
Yeah.
to provide you the service. Yeah, and also you rather choose the the company who have shop. And you rather choose a company uh uh the property is big, employer they got a lot of employee, and there's a lot of car that 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 they are repairing, and you need to wait. Yeah. So, and then also sometimes we don't like to choose the car workshop which is too small. Mm. Yeah, especially when you go to a, a place that you not familiar, and your car break down, your car stuck on the route, and then or maybe your car need repair, and then you're looking a car workshop, And if the car workshop is too small, you worry whether it's a black shop.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
try to find a big shop, especially the shop in the corner. Yeah,
Mm.
right.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the costly signaling theory. And also, we can also do something to hack their mind. For example, yeah, uh if your car workshop is small and it is in the middle of the street, it is not in the corner, and then
Yeah.
how can you improve your chance? How can you improve the chance to get chosen? Mm.
Um, not the corner.
You're in the middle and you're a small shop and you just open and it's a new shop. It's a new car workshop. Mm.
Um,
Make the lining shiner. Make the lining light yeah, more shine. Yeah, so people can see inside.
oh,
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it actually can link to one of the things we discussed just now, which is the uncertainty. And it explains why customers need a time. They want a date because they don't want to they don't want to suffer with uncertainty. This is just a torture. And and okay, if try to imagine you're at a car workshop and the customer asks you when can I get a car, and then you say I also not sure. Yeah, I couldn't promise you.
Mm.
And this is the first one. And then the second one is uh I can give you the car end of by this month. Say let's say end of by end of by 2 weeks later. End of by 2 weeks. Yeah,
Mm.
next 2 weeks. Mm. So that uh which one will make the customer more angry? Which one will make the customer feel more unpleasant?
The first
Yeah,
one.
yeah, the first one because you couldn't give a date, you couldn't give a time.
Yeah.
Mm. And the customer because you couldn't give the times, you couldn't give the dates, and then how can a customer plan for their schedule?
Mm.
If you give the time, if you give the date, yeah, even though it's late, but the customer can okay, and then yeah, never mind. Uh, and they'll plan for their schedule. For example, they ask their friend to drive them go to the office. Maybe they ask their children or they ask their
Their friends.
parents,
Mm.
their friends, uh, do the transportations.
Mm.
So at least they can plan. They have a time. They have a concept. So you reduce the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are many case. Yeah, there are many case. For example, the traffic light. If you let people know how much time they still need to wait. Yeah, if you let people know how much time they still need to wait before they can go, before
Mm.
the traffic light turn green, and they are more willing to wait because they feel less frustrated. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also let's say it is a train, it is a bus. If you know a bus will come within 15 minutes, yeah, even though we expect it to come 10 minutes, yeah, to come in 10 minutes,
Mm.
but the app show that the bus the bus will come 15 minutes later. Yeah. So you can look for another plan. For example, you try to take a cab. Yeah, if this is
Mm.
a really urgent thing, or maybe you know you are going to late, and then you tell your friend, uh, because of the bus, because of the delay of the bus, you are late.
Yeah.
You you will not on time, and so you ask your friends to go to to do something first. To
Yeah.
do other thing first. Before meeting. And also you can tell your customer, you can tell your company. So for example, traffic jam. And then I still need 15 minutes to
Mm.
arrive at office.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what if you couldn't know? You couldn't know uh, when the bus come. How can you do that? So it's just
Yeah.
virtuous. Mm.
Yeah.
Then you couldn't tell you couldn't tell your company, you couldn't tell your customer when it can be available. And
Mm.
it actually is something like a chain.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell them, and then they couldn't know. They couldn't know when it comes to meeting.
Mm. Yes.
And your friends also couldn't know. When you arrive. So actually it hurt your trustworthiness more if you couldn't give a date, you couldn't give a time.
Mm.
Because you let people feel uh uh you let people deal with the uncertainty. You let people deal with the uncertainty, and then they will have bad impact on you. They will have a they will have a bad uh yeah yeah uh sorry, what I want to say is
Impression.
what.
Is it impression?
Impression. You have a negative impression on you. Yeah. For example, let's say about the English conversation topic, and if you say you will try to make it before let's say before 7 p.m. Before
Mm.
7 p.m. uh what I want to say is you you update the English conversation topic uh 7 p.m. if next day uh this is your turns. So at least you give me the time, at least you give me the date, you give me the time, so I will check it. I will check after 7 p.m. So I won't like keep checking all the day, and then I'm not sure whether this is a technical problem like last time, or whether this is you forget to update. Yeah. So I can know if after 7 p.m. and you still didn't update, and then I will tell you, I will upset you, or I will Skype you.
Mm.
Like that. Yeah. Because I uh also um let's say in the morning I didn't saw your update, so I
Yeah.
won't I won't tell you, I won't call you, I will message you, because maybe you still maybe you still haven't think a topic. So this is something like I keep chasing you, so it's not a good thing. It also let you have a negative impression on me. Something like keep chasing. And it can apply in many cases. For example, a customer. Yeah. For example, you have a meeting uh, with your customer, and
Mm.
then the customer won't keep chasing you. You know. Mm, they don't want to keep chasing you. Or
Yeah.
maybe, how about it's not a customer, it's your friend. Will you keep chasing your friends? Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. So so if you let people know when is a deadline, when is a time,
Mm.
there must be something wrong. When is a time, there must be something wrong, so they can contact you.
Yeah.
So it will be better. And it also can apply in many cases. For example, uh 2 days ago, I actually make an appointment to ask the technicians come to fix our fax machine.
Mm.
And and the company sorry and the sales agent tell me that she'll help to arrange, and she'll get back to me by tomorrow. And so tomorrow I keep waiting, and then in the morning I think, yeah maybe she'll message you. So I won't I don't chase her.
Yeah.
And in the afternoon, I totally forget the things. Yeah, and only until the evening before I want to go back my home, and then I message her. Yeah, any update to this? And then she say, "Oh, the technician doesn't goes to your office. Oh, you didn't tell me earlier." Yeah.
Mm.
So there's a mismatch of
Yeah.
information here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if let's say you are the sales agent, if you are the sales agent, and then you want to increase your trustworthiness, and when people make appointments with you, when people ask you to do something, and then the same story, and then you say, yeah, I will get back to you tomorrow. Uh, uh, I'll get back to you by tomorrow 10 a.m.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll get back to you by tomorrow 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would it better? It actually will be better,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
And yeah, and even though you couldn't make it, but yeah, and also this is something you say you'll get back to them. You'll get back to them by tomorrow 10 a.m. You didn't say it will be the schedule will be fixed by tomorrow 10 a.m.
Mm.
or the technicians will go to your office by tomorrow 10 a.m. This is something that you couldn't manage. This is something that out of your control. But what you can control is you can let people know what is the time, what is the
Yeah.
date, that
Yeah.
something must go wrong. So if something goes wrong, they will contact you. So they won't keep waiting until they forget.
Mm.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. So there are a lot of things affect the trustworthiness, and then those things seems like unrelated to the trustworthiness. And if you want to say, if you ask me, whether trustworthiness got value or not, it
Mm.
definitely got value. Yeah, it definitely got value. Mm. Yeah, because we want to make business with an honest company. Want to if our friends don't don't pay us back the money after we lend them, or the time they pay is very long. That means they take a lot of time to repay me the money.
Yeah.
I wouldn't lend them my money next time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But what if uh your friend tell you, yeah, I will I'll pay you the money end of next month, end of next month. At least you know the time, you know the
Mm.
date. Yeah, but of course, if they break the promise, this is another story. This is another thing. That's if you compare, they didn't make any promise, and oh, and compare this with if they have make any promise. Yeah. So there's some difference.
Yes.
There's some difference.
Yeah.
Mm. And also it can go back to the point when whether you make the promise, whether you make a promise means that you are trustworthy or not. Actually, in some circumstances, yes, and also in most of the case, is also the answer is also yes. Yeah. For example, if you saw an advertisement, if the advertisement say that they have they will have a better customer service, they
Mm.
charge lower price, and then their service good, the quality is good, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least they show something, they display the things on the
Mm.
advertisement. Yeah, compared to those company, they don't display it, they don't
Yeah.
mention it in the advertisement. Yeah, yeah. Although
The result will
the
be
right
the same.
yeah, so the
Mm.
result will be the same. Although the company may under delivering.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we still but if let you choose, would you prefer the first one or second one? Yeah, the person can make the advertisements show that they have better customer service, cheaper price, all that with
Mm.
with advertisement with nothing. You definitely will choose the first one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, even though it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because the promise has no related to the result. But in our mind, we'll think like this. Yeah. Yeah. So they dare to write it in the advertisement, so they must be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all for my sharing for today.
Yep. Yeah, me too.
Okay, so that's all for our today conversations. How do you feel? Did you enjoy the conversations? Please tell us what you think of our conversation. And we are not native speakers. If you found any vocal mistake that we make, please also comment to let us know, because we want to learn more and improve ourselves. Remember to like and subscribe to us. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.